but entering the retail market was a huge step for us.
Like how you want to perceive yourself in the market.
It was a very difficult time, I think, for the business.
Do you think it's changed how you show up as a leader?
And it was honestly the most fun thing I've ever done. And it was stressful.
What do you think's missing in marketing right now?
When somebody rebrands, the general question is, has the company been dissolved?
Like you want to, in some ways, make him proud first.
I think if you've built brand loyalty, and by that I don't mean you're selling millions of products, but if people trust in you, I think as a person, you'll automatically gain respect within the market.
Let's restart everything. Let's replan the business model. Let's replan marketing. Let's replan everything. And then funnily enough, when I executed on those things changed. The results changed.
Work on yourself. Just work on yourself. Seriously. Like every day. Just be better every day.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast. Today's going to be a really special one because technically I'm actually interviewing my first client. Now, that sounds a bit weird, nearly 10 years in business now, but it is. So, welcome to me. Welcome back. It's been, I think it's actually been, nearly 4.5 years since we've actually seen each other?
The last time I remember, I think we were shooting something on top of a car park in Salisbury.
Yes, we did.
And that's got to be about 4.5 years ago at least. So yes, it's great to be back and great to see you after all these years as well.
I know. Yeah. Super good. I mean, you were actually under a different brand then.
That's right. We were. So our legal entity remains the same, but we have rebranded to Anand, which incidentally is our family surname as well. And that came about through some hard lessons, I think, in business. One of the ones being most probably that you never really stop learning, I think, and when you get to a point where you think you've kind of, worked everything out, there's like this curveball thrown at you. So that was sort of what happened with us as a company. There were some legal obligations that we had to meet, and the old brand no longer resonated or could technically be used moving forward. So I think it all came about because we entered retail as a business. Predominantly we are wholesale and hospitality, but entering the retail market was a huge step for us and sort of at a national airport as well. So when that came about, I mean, it was a huge shock to the system because we had just launched this huge sort of project. There was 2 or 3 in the pipeline, and then all been vetted and all sort of been mustered up with this brand, and then to all of a sudden launch something, and then I think it was about 3 weeks later we had something to say. There were some legal obligations that had to be fulfilled. It was a huge shock to the system. So it was a very difficult time, I think, for the business because I think being a director, I always say you have huge responsibilities for your staff and your company. And I think I felt at that time that, this was, do or die kind of thing. It was either we really got this going and sort of made the necessary adjustments. And we did. And, Anand was formed off the back of that. So, and it was honestly the most fun thing I've ever done. And it was stressful because, you're running this medium-sized operation. We employ up to 50 people, and all of a sudden you're rebranding, and everyone's question is why. And there's a fine line where you can tell someone why openly and why you can't. And the majority of the reason was, it was just something that we had to do as a business. So the rebrand came as a shock, but honestly, it really taught us a lot of valuable lessons from in there. Because I think off the back of the name, we actually found a voice as a company. I felt for a few years that we didn't really know what we were. And I think that's really weird to say for a company that was fairly well established. I mean, you visited before as well. But I felt with Anand, all of a sudden we're back to this blank canvas, right? And we're creating everything in reverse, which is the worst way to do it, don't get me wrong. But because it had to be done, it kind of forced our hand to look at aspects of business that we never had before. All of a sudden we're engaging marketing companies, we're engaging branding companies, we're engaging companies that help you find your voice. I didn't know those things even existed. And all of that came off the back of my mentor saying to me, look, this is one of those times as a businessman where you either go big or you go home, right? And for me, it was like, we got to go big here. Like, I've invested too much time in this. Like, I've invested too many years, those sleepless nights, everything, to just, pack up and be like, yeah, we're done here. No, we're going to go big, and we're going to spend big. And sometimes that's not the best solution, but we kept a control of that, because spending big wasn't just throwing money blindly at stuff. It was really taking our time, really looking at companies that met our ethos, but also companies that we felt genuinely wanted us to do well. So they didn't make us just feel like a number amongst their client base. And that was hard to narrow down, because we made some mistakes along the way there as well. And in hindsight, it's easy to say, these things happen. But at the time, when you're financially forking out money, it's a huge, huge deal. So, look, it was an amazing journey. And it's been a year since we've rebranded. And I think as a company, we couldn't be any happier than we are at the moment.
Do you think that maybe some people are really worried about rebrand? I mean, you kind of forced into it, but I think like maybe people who are listening who are maybe on the fence about like what do you gain from a rebrand? Was it just that voice and that like that really what I would call depth work when it comes to really understanding what your brand values are and like how you want to perceive yourself in the market? Would you say, or is it like if that's like a disconjointed? Because for some business, I think that can be really disconjointed for some people.
I mean, I'd answer that in reverse. So one thing you won't lose is your reputation, which was a huge aspect for us. It was, when somebody rebrands, the general question is, has the company been dissolved, or has something happened? Has the company gone bankrupt? Has there been a huge gross misconduct from somebody? And the thing is, like, you've got to get past that, because naturally as an individual, we would think that. And you've got to put yourself in the public domain as well as a director personally yourself and think from both sides. So for me, I think if you've built brand loyalty, and by that I don't mean you're selling millions of products, but if people trust in you, I think as a person, then you'll automatically, especially a small to medium-sized business, you'll automatically gain respect within the market. So we didn't realize how much respect we had amongst our clientele until the rebrand happened. And I think that's what carried us through. So I think there's this illusion that if I rebrand, I'll lose customers. And that's a general worry, because, of course, you need your finances to run a business. And your clients are your clients. You spend years and decades working with them, whatever, right? But those relationships can be ruined at the drop of a hat as well. A split-second bad decision. So I think what I've learned the most is that if you are genuine and you are genuinely there for your clients, and if they're not just a number to you, which is how we do things at Anand, then you will be absolutely fine, because people will carry through. And that's what I noticed, that all of our clients said, we don't care if this company is called ABC tomorrow, but we want to work with the same leadership that we're working with within this company. And that's what made me realize that, not that I didn't know people were important, but it made me realize how important the team that we had were and how dedicated they were. And that all stems from, I think personally, from you as a director and what your attitude is within the business, how you look after people, how do you go about daily life, and how much do those people matter to you as well. And that kind of proved to me that, those things mattered a huge deal to us as a company, and it filtered right through. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think for me it's important to appreciate where you've come from, but also then understand, like, sometimes we have a growing pain, right? Yeah. So it's we're shifting into a new brand, we're shifting into like scaling up, etc. But one of the quotes that you gave me very many years ago that has really stood apart, that I wanted to remind you of, but also ask you to apply some context to, is people are loyal to their needs.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, how did you sort of, I guess that's a life lesson for a lot of people, but where's the story behind that? So I think just sort of, I've been in business for about 10, 15 years myself, and I can't put a number on it now, to be honest with you, but it's been a very long time. And one of the things that you realize very early on is that it's very much a dog-eat-dog world. Like, as much as, you think you might be out there to set the agenda straight or to start this new,
loving relationship with every single person. It never works out that way. And we realized very quickly that as a business, after surviving the first 5 years, like a lot of people are just loyal to their needs. Like when those needs are met, they will either move on or they'll no longer engage with you. And I mean, that's absolutely fine. It's a natural thing to happen as well. But to put it into context, I mean, if I look at how we operate with our clients at the moment, I don't think there's a single client that can say that, if their volumes drop with us, that we change our attitude towards them.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's the smallest client on our sort of, accounting system, or it's a big renowned sort of company, it makes no difference to us. We work personally with every single client and every single person that we work with. And that might mean along the way you have to accept that once their needs are fulfilled, that they no longer will engage with you. But to put it into sort of context, that quote at the time came from, it was one of the things that we've always steered away from as a company. Don't be those kind of companies, or that company that is all over a client when it's hot.
Yeah.
And when it's not, they don't want to know, or they don't want to help them out with anything. And there are some clients that we work with that, we did millions of pounds of business with before. And all of a sudden, they have engaged another company. But there are times where they still engage us when there's an emergency, and we would never turn them down, because you've got to remember that whether they've moved on as a client to another supplier, they were also once your client and made up the DNA of your business to be what it is today. So yeah, I mean, it's something you have to get comfortable with, I think, in business, and grow some thick skin around that, because people are loyal to their own needs, and it's just the way of the world.
For me, it's something that sort of, at the time, I think when you initially told me, I didn't really get it.
Yeah.
Right? And now I can say 6 years, 7 years down the road, I get it. And I think for me, it's one of those things where it may not even be deliberate from that person, that client, customer.
No, yeah.
I think it's more around, actually, sometimes you just, there's only so much value you can add to that customer, client, etc.
Absolutely. And people have personal lives, and it's it's easy to say, don't involve your personal in your work life, but it's a very difficult thing to do as well. So sometimes we do forget that people might have stuff going on in their own lives. People move on, and all of a sudden a new person comes into that role in the company and doesn't see your business to be as valuable as the previous person. So there are elements of that as well.
Yeah.
But I think I've always found that there's no use keeping hatred and negativity about somebody moving on. I think you've got to accept that and look and think, how can I learn from this? And how can I get better from this? And there was times that, clients left us on a very bad note, completely unexpected. Some that didn't even pay, the thousands of pounds they racked up in accounts, not to mention any names. And that didn't mean that we were not going to look at what we could have done better as a company. So I think it always starts with what's going on at home before you look anywhere else.
Yeah. Do you think, because I've been fortunate enough to be in business and grow and scale and adapt and be in a position where I think there's always some people who are saying there's something going on in the economy or COVID or et cetera, et cetera. I mean, is it a mindset thing as an entrepreneur, as an owner? Because I've always been of the mind of yes, there's stuff going on, but actually your output can then fix your if it's a revenue problem, then there's a solution for it. If it's a marketing problem, you can fix it. It's down to you to fix it, regardless of the economy's in bad shape. A lot of people have said to me the creative space is challenging right now. In comparison to maybe when COVID was really good, for example, where there was loads of money floating around. But it's actually, I think for me, you've got to focus on what you're doing. And I think that's the key. But I mean, in your experience, is it kind of a catch-all kind of, they're just saying it because, the economy's hard, or as maybe as an excuse?
Look, I mean, there's no doubt the economy is very different to pre-COVID.